Let's talk about some of the Premier League action, shall we? Let's get straight to the game on the South Coast, Cass, because it was a huge battle between Bournemouth and Burnley in terms of where they are both at in the table. Burnley, of course, had a victory this season. Not the same for Bournemouth, but they did come through to Bournemouth to win this one. They had to come from behind to do it as well. Little bit of controversy in this one. Vincent Kompany, of course, the Burnley manager, not happy with some of the decisions made in the game. There was the J. Rodriguez late goal that was given offside eventually, but my goodness, did it take a while for VAR to come to that conclusion, and by all accounts they'd put the lines in the wrong place. It was all a bit of a mess, but in the end, given offside, very tight call it was, but so be it, because it's factual, so we have to go with that. There was also a handball incident very late on in the game that, again, Vincent Kompany not happy with, and saying that perhaps they should have earned a penalty in that game. What did you make of that handball incident?
Yeah, I think there's you can see it quite clearly, and the fact that they spent so much on the offside, as in over 5 minutes, and then very little time to even really to look at the handball incident, which was, and look, one thing I've always, being a manager is a tough gig. You know, fine margins in football, we've talked about it often enough, can make a huge difference. And he walks away from this game disappointed. He knew how big this match was for Burnley, Vincent Kompany, and he's seen 2 decisions go against his team. And that's going to be hard for him to take, because you do all your work, you prepare for that game all week to try and get the best performance you can, and it's ended up being decided by VAR decisions that have gone against, Burnley. Certainly the penalty, I thought, you've got to say that has to be given as a pen. Yeah,
so that looked like a Chris Mepham handball. He had his arm raised. It was sort of like competing with Sander Berge in that late opportunity for Burnley. And as I say, he's had his sort of hand up, Chris Mepham, sort of holding on to the shirt sleeve of Berge. And it did, the ball definitely strikes his hand. You could see why they would want a penalty in that incident, although no one really appealed for it. No. So maybe that was slightly overlooked because of that. But overall, wow, at the 10th time I'm asking, Bournemouth finally got that first win. I don't want to say easing the pressure on Donny Iraola, because obviously it's been a difficult time for him as the Bournemouth manager's trying to get that first victory. But nonetheless, just to get that first win now just gives you that confidence, and it takes them out of the relegation zone as a result as well. And
it helps when Bill Foley, the American owner, comes over. And you think, well, has he come over to meet the manager if they happen to lose the game and, keep himself at the wrong end of the table? They've got, with that result, they're at the bottom 4. Obviously, Luton, they leapfrog Luton. They didn't play. So, it was a big result for the manager. And again, so fine margins in winning and losing. And it's one of the reasons you sort of think, you have to be careful what you say of whether managers are doing really bad jobs and, is it deserved sometimes, because the game can be brutal to managers. And don't get me wrong, that doesn't excuse some managers that clearly get things wrong, but that happens, that's life, people make mistakes. But I feel for managers in these sort of positions at these type of clubs where they're battling. Well,
especially when you're a manager like Iraola, who has never managed in the Premier League, has come in trying to instill a different style of play as well into this Bournemouth team. Clearly that was what was asked of as well. That's why Gary O'Neill was dismissed and Iraola was brought in. It takes time to implement what you want. And, 10 games, is that enough, really, to get your style of play into your team?
I've said this before, and I've taken quite a lot of stick now. I actually feel there should be a far bigger responsibility in clubs having a longer time with their manager. I feel it's, giving someone even 10 games. Can you really put a plan together? Yes, you can change things quickly. That we've seen managers, get the bounce, the spring in a step of a side when they join a football club. I've seen all that. But generally, you think, what's a fair crack at the whip, really, in football as a manager? Yeah. And, you sort of feel, well, 3 months, that feels to me a very short space of time. Should you be giving 2 transfer windows? That feels that might be too long for some fans. We are pretty quick to pull the trigger on managers' careers. And like you said, he's come to a new country, Iraola. He's having a new type of football that he's trying to introduce, trying to get his team to understand. They made a number of summer signings. Unless you hit the ground running, you're literally under pressure straight away.
Yeah. I mean, the same could be said, obviously, of Vincent Kompany when he came in at Burnley. That was a bit of a surprise. No one really expected
he made a massive change so quickly, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. A complete change of play with Burnley. And they were fantastic. We all know how fantastic they were in the Championship. They were absolutely brilliant. But they opened the scoring yesterday at Bournemouth, early doors. But it's the third game they have now scored in first and lost, which is more than any other side. What does that say about them?
Well, again, I suppose the one criticism you could make is there enough... I mean, I don't watch Bournemouth enough and all of their games to... are you making lots of tactical substitutions as you're in a winning position? Because I do think there are managers that get way more cautious when they want to hang on to something. Yeah. And I'm not the biggest fan of that. I think you get punished way more often than you can see out a game. I
know I was seeing after the Brentford result of last weekend, I was seeing a reaction on social media from Burnley fans. And some Burnley fans were saying Vincent Kompany and obviously the recruitment, they've kind of really changed the team that got them up. There aren't that many that are starting games that got them up. Yeah. And can that sometimes be an issue, that you've changed it too much?
Well, that's happened the second season at Millwall. We got promoted. Yeah. And the team that got promoted, we done really well in the first year. Second year, there was a number of changes.
Yeah, but the difference is you had a season with that core group.
Yeah, we had that season with a core group. But I was going to allude to there that Marseille, when we got promoted going back to the Ligue 1, the whole team changed, and they literally got rid of everybody that had got promoted apart from one player. Wow. And it was really... And they were a worse team. We used to play games because a number of the players were still there now. We'd play practice matches against the team that had been brought in.
Oh, really?
And we'd beat them often enough.
Weekend Sports Breakfast with Natalie Sawyer and Tony Cascarino. Sunday mornings from 6 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.